I recently discovered a framework for sales, and on all of the calls I had since discovering that framework, I got cash collected. Now, you might say, okay, but that's purely coincidence if you got a couple of calls and on every single call of them you collected cash. But the thing is, compared to other calls before that, these calls were way easier, way less pressure on myself, and the calls were actually way, way more fun. Literally a fun conversation, more fun than most of the other parts of the business. So if right now in your situation it's still the case that when you have a sales call, it's quite stressful, you're like, you've got the call in the evening and you're constantly thinking like, how do I do that on this call? You're sort of worried, the calls are uncomfortable, the prospect does say some weird stuff, maybe. If you want to get out of that and you want to have calls where where you're truly non-needy first of all, and you're just completely detached from what the client is doing, and at the same time you're still in a place where you know what you need to do to make sure that they buy or at least get to make the right decision, then just watch this video real quick, because that's something I've discovered recently, and I was exactly in the situation that I just described, where you probably might be in right now, a few months ago, literally 1 month ago. So let me quickly explain. So the steps that you can see here listed above is what you want to do before the call, and no, this is not some woo-wah random fancy technique, and it's also not going to take a lot of time. This takes maybe 2-3 minutes to go through, so whenever you have a call, just take firstly 10 minutes. If you realize you can do it quicker, 5 minutes before the call, just go through the things, get into the meeting, set up all the stuff that you need, maybe, the notes, maybe, I don't know, check out their whatever profile so that you're prepared for that. And then, before they join or before you let them in, you can just let them wait in the waiting room and let them in once you're done with this. You want to go through these things, fucking German accent. So, you need to think on this call, when you get there, before you start talking to them, you need to be in the right state. And what I mean by that is you need to be in a place where you're basically mentally prepared for the call, because when you're not, and when you just heard into the call, you're not sort of prepared for the call, really. Maybe that doesn't make that much sense for you. If you've done a lot of sales calls, then you know what I'm talking about. So what you need to do is you need to think, no matter what happens on this call, I will get to my goal anyway. Now, you probably have a goal, maybe 10k a month, 100k a month, million a month, whatever. You need to think, I will get to this goal anyway. No matter what happens on this call, I will eventually get the clients that I need, get to the conversion rates and all of the good stuff that's necessary for you achieving your goal. Anyway, no matter what happens on this call, I don't need this call basically, I don't need this call to be great to succeed. Because no matter what happens on this call, I'm going to give it my all. I will get a lesson from that. That's going to positively affect future calls. And because of that, I'm going to get there anyway. You just need to believe it, right? And that's going to be quite easy if you already got clients. If you don't have clients right now, it could be the case. Then you just need to strongly believe you will get this done anyway, no matter what happens on this call specifically. You can book as many calls as you want to, right? That's the first thing. The second thing, and now it becomes really, really easy, and a lot of stress is going away with the next few steps, is you need to say, this call is about them. This call is not about me at all. It's just about that person. For example, let's say the person's called Alex on the call. You just say, okay, this call is just going to be about Alex. We're going to see what's going on in Alex's life. We're going to see if we can maybe help Alex. We're going to see what exact struggles Alex is having right now, because people always have struggles when they book a call. Because if they didn't have struggles, they wouldn't take like an hour out of the day to talk with some random person that they have never met before. Like, there's got to be a reason. And you're just going to say that. And you can also, I don't know if that sounds weird, frankly, I don't care. You can have an energy of like a father talking, thinking about their children. Like, this call is just going to be about little Alex. No disrespect to the prospect, but just give that sort of energy that you're like the father, like trying to see, or the mother, if you're a woman watching this, on like, you want to have that energy where you're like, okay, what's going on here? Okay. Right? And that's basically the energy that you want to have. The call's going to be just about them. You're going to talk about them. It doesn't freaking matter what's going on your side, because if you help them, then everything else is going to be fine for you anyway. So just forget about that, right? So that's that. And after that, and this is really, really, it takes a huge amount of relief from you. I don't know how you like articulate that. Anyway, you need to think they make the decision. And they actually do make the decision. You are not the one to make the decision, and I will, like, the next step say how you still make them buy from you by your skill. You're still selling them, but they make the decision. This is really, really important. They make the decision, but what usually happens on a call when people give you some stupid objections is, yes, they make the decision, but they make the decision based on some bullshit information. Basically, them not being truthful with himself. That's the reason why it's not good to just say, yeah, they make the decision whenever they want to. That's a bit bullshit, because they make the decision, yes, but on the wrong information. When someone is doing the decision on the right information, then it's valid, right? You're just helping them make the objective right decision in their situation, which is usually not to think about it when they're in a painful situation. They've got some serious consequences attached to when they don't progress. So, for example, I don't know, their family's not getting enough money, their parents are not being retired, their parents are not actually, having enough to really sustain themselves. They're like on government welfare or something, or like whatever situation you could imagine. Maybe they never make progress. Maybe they never get a girlfriend. Like whatever their motivation is for being on this call, this motivation is not going to be fulfilled when they don't buy from you. And you also need to imagine, when you are watching this video right now, you're actively learning on sales. You're going to become better at sales than almost every of your competitors that are taking these calls, because people, yes, sure, people get on calls with other people, but when they're still on the call with you, then it's quite apparent that the people that they've been on the past calls have either been trash or that they literally don't have the money. But if we put the money thing aside, it's literally just like, provided they have enough money, they've been on calls with other people in the past, but these people have not been that good at sales. And that's why sorry for that, that's why you are necessarily going to stand out on that call. And when they give you any sort of objections, most of it is just bullshit. And it's not based on the truthful situation, and it's not even the most beneficial thing for them. Thinking about their situation is going to delay their pain. It's not smart for them to think about the situation. It's not smart for them to say, yeah, no, I need to speak to my wife when the situation is really problematic and there's no really valid reason as to why they need to delay that. Then it's a stupid decision for them to delay that. When people say, yeah, the prospect needs to make the decision, then that's because that's not good, because usually the prospect is making the decision based out of denial of the actual truth and because they don't want to be honest with you. You want to make them make the decision by themselves, and they should always be doing that, but they should be doing that based on the actual truth of their situation. I hope you got the point now. I hope I drilled that home now. But yeah, I could talk about this for like another 10 minutes, but I don't want to. So you need to just think, I don't decide what they are going to do at the end. They are going to decide. I just make them decide the right thing, right? And the way that you do that, like I was just saying 5 minutes straight, you just want to show them the actual truth of their situation. What do I mean by truth? Actually stated here, the pain of their situation, so the actual problem, the fact that they cannot solve it by themselves, the number, for example, when people on calls, yeah, like a very usual question is like, how much are you making per month right now? Usually when you ask how much do you make per month, prospects tell you something. Let's say the prospect says 10k a month, and if you didn't ask them how much do you make per month, but you ask them how much did you make last month, oh yeah, 4k. And then you ask them, and because people always make up some random shit because they're on a sales call, they don't know you yet, they have no reason as to why they need to be honest with you. When some random person is asking you how much do you make, you always want to be, showing off a little bit better. At least a lot of people are doing this. I personally would never do this, but a lot of people do this, and they just come up with some random stuff. And they're not based on the actual facts. And how much do you make per month? Oh, 10k a month is not a fact, as opposed to how much did you make last month? Because then they need to quickly think, okay, it's this much. And then it's actual truth, for example. Or what happened to me on one of these calls is that I was talking to the person who was saying, yeah, I'm not getting that many appointments right now. I'm having only like 5% booking rate with outbound. So like you send 100 messages, you get 5 calls. And then I was okay, how many calls do you have right now? And I was saying like, yeah, I've got 1 to 2 calls a month. Because I was asking him like, how many calls did you have last month? He was saying like 1 to 2. And then I was saying like, okay, is this like a normal amount? And he was like, yeah, usually I'm always having like 1 to 2 calls a month. And then later on in the conversation, he was saying like, yeah, I'm doing like, I was doing hundreds of outreaches a day. And when someone is doing hundreds of outreaches a day, says that they've got a 5% booking rate, then they would need to book 5 calls a day. But he doesn't do that at all. He doesn't even book 1 call a day, he books 1 to 2 calls a month. So something is wrong there, right? And people don't do this on purpose, most of the time at least, but people say some bullshit information that doesn't really make sense, and you need to be on the ball and think like, wait, you just said you're sending 100 outreaches a day, and you're having a 5% booking rate, so why do you not have 5 calls a day, but actually 1 to 2 calls a month? And then it was like, okay, yeah, 5% was like an estimation. Maybe it's less than that. And then later on we also discovered, oh, he's not actually sending 100 outreaches a day. Sometimes it's also just 50, 40 or 20. So it's actually more like 40 per day or something. So it's people talk some bullshit if you're not on the ball, right? And that's not necessarily because they're bad or they want to lie to you. Sometimes they just don't know. Because the person that I was talking to, they weren't tracking their metrics. They didn't know how much percent that was. They just guessed 5%. But if they were sending like 50 outreaches a day, which is like Monday through Friday in a month, there'll be like 20 days of sending outreach, because a week has 5 days and there are 4 weeks in a month, at least right now in February. And that's like 20 times 50, which is like 1,000 outreaches, leading to 1 to 2 calls. And he was also saying it's more like 1 call. So actually, he sends 1,000 messages and books 1 call from that, which is 0.1% of a booking rate. And this is not to blame the certain prospect I'm talking about. This is just to give you an example of how much you need to be on the ball with the actual truth that's going on. Because a lot of times people don't do that. It's really, really important. Because when you realize, oh, it's not a 5% booking rate, it's 0.1%, then it's like, oh, like your system almost doesn't work at all. You're manually sending within a month so much outreach that you book 1 call. What's going on? And then they say, oh, yeah, I don't really know what to do. I've no idea. I've tried this for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever, and it doesn't really work. Okay, well, then what are you going to do then? Like, what are your options in this situation? And then the options are like, okay, keep trying to do this, and apparently didn't work for the last 6 months, so what's going to change now? Not much, really, if you're being honest with them. And the other alternative is to get help from someone that actually knows how to do this, which is probably you when you booked someone in on the call and all of that, you know. And if you make them realize, like, this is what's actually going on, these are your options. If you don't take the right options, it sucks because of the pain, because of whatever motivation you have for getting to your goals. And by the way, also don't ask for, like, what's your motivation for getting there. Ask them, like, why did you start this business initially? And then they'll give you, like, reasons as to why they started the business. And then will become apparent usually when the reasons that they're stating are things that they want that they don't have right now. And for example, they might say like, yeah, I want the lifestyle, and then you say, okay, what does the lifestyle look like that you don't have right now? And always bring it back to what is right now, because this is the actual truth. This is not what they might want in the future. This is for right now. You don't even need to do future pacing. You don't even need to ask like, yeah, like what's your motivation for getting there? How would you like to structure your life when you were at that level? Because all of that is hypotheticals. It's not real. It's not the actual truth. As opposed to what's going on right now that sucks, that makes you want to get out of there. Way more direct. It's something that's actually present. It's going to create way more pain. And like I was saying as well, we're obviously creating the pain to make them realize what's going on, because it's truth. It would not be morally correct if we were to create pain around something that's not painful. But usually people, when they have a painful situation, is their mind just buries that away. Like they just try to not think about it that much. And then they're still in that painful situation, but it's sort of like hidden behind whatever stuff, and they don't really think about it too much. But it's actually still there, and you need to make them aware of that. It's not unethical. You just show them the truth of their situation, which is naturally painful, because otherwise they wouldn't have booked the call. And yeah, basically when you make them realize all of this, and you make them realize, okay, these are your options, what other options do you have? Can you think of any other options? Okay, no. So we just discovered that you've got these 2 options, 3 options, whatever, and then we're going to think, okay, like this option is going to cause you to have another 2 months going on, whatever. You whatever they're trying right now, whatever their options are, and if you make them like aware of all of this, then their decision is going to be 90% of the time, whatever, maybe just 80%. Don't like, how do you say it in English? Don't nail me on a certain number. I don't know how you call it in English. I don't want to say anything inappropriate here, but you get what I mean. Like, if you give them the actual truth, in 80% of the cases, the right decision is to work together with you and therefore to buy from you. And then it's just a logistical thing as to, okay, how are they going to do that? And it's really not that difficult. Like, the only thing you need to do is show them the objective truth of their situation, make that clear to them, and then they will make the right decision. And the right decision is most of the time to buy from you, so you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to bias them or like wrongfully try to like lead them into any sort of direction. You just need to lead them to seeing the truth, and the truth is usually, okay, fuck, shit's going to get down and I want to get out of here as soon as possible. And the way to get out of here as soon as possible is to work with Frederick. In my case, I don't know your name watching this video. If your name is like Jonas, whatever, then this is their decision most of the time to work with you, Jonas, whatever your name is. But you go with me, right? And that's really it. Like, you just need to show them the truth. It's not painful. You're not wrongfully persuading them, and you can also always ask like when you've got this in mind, then you don't need to feel any sort of like shame for asking a painful question, because when you ask for like the actual details, then there's nothing wrong with that. Like, the reason why you ask for their revenue is because it's the number one important question to determine the health of a business. And when you can't determine the health of a business, how do you know that you're actually going to be able to help them? Right? So a prospect can never, or is very rarely going to be like violent or like, why did you ask me this? Like, this doesn't make sense. Can we just get to the details now? What are you offering? And all of that. When you're actually truthful and just saying like, okay, what's going on in your situation? Because you can ask all these questions because you're not asking them to persuade the prospect to do anything. You're asking them to show the prospect the truth, and usually the truth will then lead to them buying from you. But because it's the truth, it's also what's best for them. And if you focus on that, it's not very difficult, right? And the last thing on this is, when you're doing this properly, you have the opportunity to change someone's life. Well, why do you change someone's life? By asking them questions. Well, the thing is, usually when people get on calls, they're talking to some closers that are, I don't know what their close rate is, maybe like 20-30% or something. And these closers, like most of the people, I think, are still using a script nowadays. And if they have a script and they're asking these questions and the prospectors realize, okay, like they're just asking me random questions that are not really in context and they don't really build off of each other. Basically, every single question is sort of changing the topic a little bit, and they're just reading off a script basically. Then they're not going to trust them. And when they don't have someone to trust them, well, how likely do you think it's going to be that they are going to buy? 20-30%, right? Which is not much. Like, that literally means that 3 out of 4 people think, okay, no, I cannot really trust them, like, it doesn't make sense. And that's why such objections like, I need to think about it and all of that happen. Because the people don't trust you. And when you show them the truth and when you're on the ball with things like, wait, you told me you're doing this many outreaches, but then you cannot possibly be booking that many appointments. But when they realize that you actually think through their numbers, through their situation, then they're going to trust you. Because they see, okay, like, he's actually on the ball. And also when they realize that you're not there to like needily try to wrongfully persuade them and lead you into a certain direction, you just want them to see the truth, then they're also going to trust you more because they realize you're on this call for them, because the call is about them and not about you. And it's like they're going to open up way more. And when they see someone that they can trust and you help them see, oh fuck, my situation is really bad, then it's going to create so much pain that they're going to do something. And they wouldn't have done something about their situation with a different closer that didn't give them the trust, that didn't like show them what's actually going on and all of that. And if because of that they didn't change something, then their situation wouldn't change. And if they change something, their life changes, not just because they decided to buy from you, but obviously because after they buy from you, then you actually have the leverage and their attention to actually give them the result. Because if someone is just a free client, you know how free clients work, right? They don't work. At least very rarely they do, right? And if you've got someone that's actually paid you, then you know for a fact, okay, they are going to like go through all of the pain with me of like solving the problem, and I can give them the best solution, and they're actually going to take this seriously, and they're going to be committed, and they're going to do that. And that's why being good at sales is going to change the person's life, and you're literally doing something very, very, very ethical here when you sell them properly, and not like someone that's just having a script trying to objection handle at the end. Because the only objections you're really getting when you're doing this here properly is, I don't have the money. And that's really it. I can't think about more. It's just going to be logistical things that are going to happen, and not anything of like, yeah, I'm not that sure, let me think about it. And like, people are just not going to do that if they really trust you. And like I was saying, the call is not going to be difficult at all if you just help them make the decision, and you think they make the decision, I just show them the truth based on which they will make the decision. And oftentimes it's just to buy from you. Not always, and you don't need 100% sales conversion rate. It's enough if you've got like 80, 90%, whatever, right? And based on that, when all the people just trust you, they see their situation, they see that it's fucked up, they see the options that they've got, and by the way, the only reason why people would not see buying from you as the best thing to do is when they've got an option that is actually objectively better than working with you, which usually is never the case. But again, it can happen. So yeah, like it's not difficult. It's not something that like sales is not nothing that you need to be afraid of, because you just need to walk them through with their situation and just be objective and try to make them see the truth. And this, like the sales call is going to become way more calm as soon as the prospect sees, oh fuck, like my situation is not that great. I would better listen to that person, right? So that's really it for this video. I could talk about this for way longer, but I don't want to be stretching this video to have like the same value but over more minutes. So I guess it makes the most sense to end it off here. If you've got any questions specifically on what to do here, then obviously let me know. But yeah, other than that, this is going to help you close a lot more of your calls. If you're really doing this and if you really realize, okay, they make the decision, I just give them the truth. And yeah, look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.